but I will abbreviate. In Raimuna, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda Dat, Jagadananda Pandit, Damodar Pandit, they came to the temple of Kirchor Gopinath. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his prostrated obeisances, dandavats, before Gopinath. And at that moment, there was a helmet of flowers on Gopinath's head, and it came off of his head and fell right on Lord Chaitanya's head. And all the pujaris, all the people of Raimuna who were present there, and all the devotees, they considered this a special, special mercy. Lord Chaitanya, seeing the beautiful form of Kirchor Gopinath, danced and chanted throughout the day, worshiped the Lord with his tears of love, and was very eager to taste the kheer. Lord Chaitanya had heard from his Guru Maharaj, Ishvara Puri, the story of Madhavendra Puri. Lord Chaitanya sat down with all the devotees and narrated the Leela of Kirchor Gopinath. How Sri Madhavendra Puri was traveling to all holy places and ultimately came to Sri Vrindavan Dham. And in the very heart of Vrindavan is Sri Govardhan. He performed the Govardhan Parikrama. And he sat on the banks of Sri Govinda Kund, quietly chanting the holy names. A little cowherd boy came to him and said that you have not had anything to eat today. In my village, no one will fast. Some sadhus come here and they beg for food, and others who are so humble like you will not even beg. Then I must come myself to provide. And he had a little bucket of milk. Madhavendra Puri said, "How did you know that I was not eating today?" He said, "The local village ladies who gather water in this place, they have seen you all day here. But my mother is waiting for me, so I will come back to get the container." Madhavendra Puri drank the milk, washed the little pot, and sat through the night chanting. And he had a dream where that same little cowherd boy appeared to him and said, and took him by the hand and brought him to some bushes. Said, "In my form of Gopal, I have for a long time been waiting for you. Some time ago, in fear of invaders, I have been hidden in this place. Over 4,000 years before, the great-grandson of Krishna, Vajranabh, installed me on top of Govardhan Hill. Now please, take me out of the bushes, bring the Brijavasis to help you, and give me nice bath, Anakut ceremony, and put me in a temple again on Govardhan." When Madhavendra Puri woke up, he understood that little cowherd boy who gave him the milk was Krishna. I didn't even recognize Krishna when he came to me. but he's given me a service. So Brijabasis got choppers, they chopped through the bushes, and there was the beautiful form of Gopal, Giridhari, the lifter of Govardhan Hill. Madhavendra Puri, he arranged for Maha Abhishek with the waters of Govinda Kund, Panchagavya, Panchamrita. And the Brijabasis from that village of Anior, they had taken the entire supply of food to make the Anukut. Mountains and mountains of rice and chapatis and sabjis and sweets, savories. It's a great description of the preparations that were made. Madhavendra Puri made an altar out of the rock, the stones of Govardhan Hill, and placed Gopal there after the Abhishek, offered the bhoga, personally offered arti, put the Lord to rest in a bed, massaged the Lord's lotus feet, and then fed everyone, all people, animals, fed everyone. Wonderful feast of Gopal's Mahaprasad. And then he himself just took a little of a milk preparation. And after this, it was such a glorious festival that village after village were coming to Madhavendra Puri to celebrate the same. And day after day, each village was bringing their entire stock of all their food to cook a feast for Gopal. Madhavendra Puri arranged for beautiful seva, kirtan. And then Gopal, after some time, appeared again and told Madhavendra Puri, I'm still very hot. Please go to the Malayan hills to get sandalwood and camphor for me. So he entrusted some of his disciples to do the puja, and all alone he left. And on his way to Puri, he reached Ramuna, seeing the beauty of Gopinath. He was so eager to give his heart, his life. And then he heard about the unsurpassable offering of kheer that is offered every day. He was thinking, if I only can taste it once and understand what it is, then I can offer it to Gopal. This is the nature of such a Vaishnava. Nothing is ever for himself. Even his eating is for Krishna. Even his tasting something is only for the service of Krishna. How far do we have to go to actually understand what it means to love Krishna? The exalted position of the residents of Vrindavan is so high. It's so inaccessible to a conditioned soul. We can't imitate. We can't just cheaply try to be like that. With all humility, we hold the purity of their love in such an exalted place that we bow our heads to that. and aspire to be a servant of the servant of the servant of our spiritual masters. And if Sri Radharani is pleased with us, then through her mercy that love is given. So Madhavendra Puri, the nature of his devotion, just the thought of tasting it so that he could understand how to make it for Gopal, before it was offered to Gopinath, he felt ashamed. How could I be thinking of eating something before Krishna's finished eating it? So after the arti, he just, without saying a word to anyone, left and went to a little marketplace to chant. Seclusion. The pujari put Gopinath to sleep, and he went to take rest. And Gopinath appeared to him in a dream and said, "Please come immediately. I have stolen one pot of kheer for the devotee Madhavendra Puri. It's just behind the curtain on the altar. Come and collect it and bring it to Madhavendra Puri." So the pujari immediately jumped out of his bed, took his bath, went on the altar, and there it was, a clay pot of kheer that was stolen by Gopinath. He went into the marketplaces crying out, "Where is Madhavendra Puri? Gopinath stole this kheer just for you. Where is Madhavendra Puri?" And the whole town was wondering, who is this Madhavendra Puri? And when Madhavendra Puri heard it, he identified himself. The pujari offered dandavats. Madhavendra Puri offered dandavats. He was told the story and given the kheer. And he ate the kheer, weeping in ecstasy as he was tasting that kheer. He wasn't just tasting ingredients. He was tasting the inconceivable karuna ras, the mercy, the loving, ecstatic mercy of Krishna upon him. We cannot see the Dham or the deity with our eyes. We can only actually see or taste prasad according to our surrender. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, don't try to see Krishna. Try to serve Krishna in such a way that he's happy to see you. And that same principle is there when we take prasad. I know it's difficult because sometimes we're really hungry, and sometimes we don't like something, and sometimes we really like something and we want more and more and more. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the state of consciousness, the reason why we chant this prayer, Sarira Avidyajao Mahaprasadi Govinde, we put ourselves in a state of consciousness, prasad seva. This prasad is Krishna's mercy. Krishna's mercy is Krishna. We're not meant to eat prasad, we're meant to serve prasad. Now, what kind of service by putting it in your mouth and chewing on it, and then swallowing it, and then knowing that it's eventually... How is that seva? The seva is our consciousness, the consciousness in which we eat it, in which we digest it. We're honoring Krishna's mercy. We're grateful. This is an inseparable aspect of seva, is having a grateful heart. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve a Vaishnav. grateful for the opportunity to serve the deity, grateful for the opportunity to chant the holy names. It may have taken us hundreds of millions of births to achieve the opportunity to render service. Knowing that prasad is Krishna's mercy, Krishna's love is within the food that's offered to him. When we eat it with a grateful heart, that is prasad seva. I don't deserve this. If we think we deserve something, we cannot really be in a humble state of gratitude. Madhavendra Puri was weeping in ecstatic love. He's a kalpabriksha, desire tree from Goloka Vrindavan. Shri Shri Radharani and Krishna performed their most intimate leelas under this desire tree. And he's descended into this world. The seed of Madhurya Ras, Prema Ras of Vrindavan in the Madhva Sampradaya. He's crying, tasting the sweetness of Gopinath's mercy. So much so, he broke the clay pot in little pieces and kept it, wrapped up in a little cloth, and every day he would eat a little piece of the clay pot and cry in love. He decided he must immediately leave Raimuna because now he's going to be famous. He wasn't looking for fame. He was looking for seva. He was on a mission of Gopal, and nothing should distract him. So without saying anything to anyone, he left. But everywhere he went, people heard that Kirchor Gopinath sold sweet rice for him. Haribol. And finally he arrived in Puri. In Jagannath Temple, in transcendental loving ecstasy, he offered the prema of his heart to Jagannath. And when the pujaris saw the purity of his devotion and heard his pastimes, they were willing to help him in any way. Madhavendra Puri would not accept service from anyone unless it was for the pleasure of Gopal. So they arranged for him all the sandalwood and all the camphor. It was a very dangerous, such expensive, valuable goods to be carrying through jungles and villages. But he had no fear. When he returned to Raimuna, Gopal appeared again in a dream and said, Madhavendra Puri, I'm none different than Gopinath. Offer all the chandan and all the camphor to Gopinath, and I will feel satisfied. So for the 4 months of the Chaturmasya, he remained there. And after, he returned to Jagannath Puri. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in such ecstatic love, was repeating this pastime of his devotee. Again, it's a story of many obstacles and how a devotee gratefully passes through them. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu extolled the glories of that Mahaprasad. In Madhavendra Puri. From Raimuna, Lord Chaitanya's journey took him to Shakshi Gopal in Cuttack. And Nityananda Prabhu, he had been there during his traveling tour, so he knew the story from hearing it from some of the local villagers. And he told the whole story of the old Brahmin and the young Brahmin from Vidyanagar who traveled all over India and at last came to Vrindavan and took parikrama of Shri Giriraj Govardhan, and then they went to the bank of the river Yamuna, Kaliaghat, Chirghat, and there was a temple of Gopal. The old Brahmin, he said to the young Brahmin, after having darshan, that you have helped me more than my own son. I'm very old, you're young. You've provided everything for me, you've never complained. Every need. How can I reciprocate? I will give you my daughter in marriage. The young Brahmin, he said, how is this? What are you saying? I'm a Brahmin, you're a Brahmin, but you're wealthy. I'm poor. You're aristocratic. I'm very crude. You're very highly educated. I have no education. Your family will never accept this. The old Brahmin said, whatever I desire, they must do. I want to give my daughter to you in marriage. The young Brahmin said that you should give that promise to Gopal. So he said to the deity, I promise to give my daughter to this young Brahmin in marriage. The young Brahmin, he wasn't concerned with marriage or no marriage. He just wanted to protect the old Brahmin's promise. So he said to Gopal, I may have to come back to ask you to testify. So they went back, and the old Brahmin told his family members, and his wife said, I will commit suicide. This will be a disgrace to our family. And his son started spreading rumors that this young Brahmin, he was trying to poison my father, exploiting my father. He was using him, and now he's coming back to try to do this. He really spoiled the name of the young Brahmin. And the whole family said, we will commit suicide. We will never allow our family to be blemished in this way. So the young Brahmin, again, he didn't care about marriage. He just wanted to serve the old man. He made a promise. If he breaks his promise, then he will suffer. He said, what about the marriage? The older man was quiet. So finally it was resolved. The young Brahmin said, if Gopal comes to testify, then will you honor his promise? And they said, how is Gopal going to testify? Deities don't walk around. Yes, we will sign a document. If Gopal comes and testifies, we will give our blessings. Sometimes blessings are very difficult. He walked all the way to Vrindavan just to save the old man from lying, because he loved him. And he told Gopal, please come. Gopal said, you go back, and I will be in your heart, and I will manifest myself there to testify that what you're saying is true. He said, that won't work. Your deity form has to come. Gopal said, this is unprecedented. Deities don't walk. He said, deities don't talk either. If you can talk, you can walk. Gopal was defeated. He said, I will come. But every day you must cook 20 kilos of rice and never look back. If you ever look back to see me, I will stop in that place. But you'll know I'm behind you because you'll hear the tinkling of my anchor bells. So they walked. In many, many days, many weeks, he could hear the tinkling ankle bells, making offerings, but never looked back. And when they came to the outskirts of Vidyanagar, he turned around and Gopal was smiling upon him. And he brought all the people of the town, and Gopal personally testified. And there was a wonderful marriage. Everyone bestowed their blessings. And the old Brahmin and the young Brahmin and his new wife, they spent the rest of their lives serving Gopal. And there was a king. He heard about the story. This deity walked from Vrindavan, so he made a beautiful temple for him in South India. And later, when Purushottam Jana, father of Prataparudra Maharaj, he conquered that kingdom in the south and asked Gopal if he could bring him to his capital in Cuttack in Odisha. And Gopal agreed. And since that time, the deity is here. They came to Bhuvaneshwar. That's a couple classes in itself, actually. In brief, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the Bhuvaneshwara temple. The history there is told in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's retold from the Puranas. Dwarka declared himself to be Vasudeva and accused Krishna as being a pretender. And he had a friend named Kashiraj, the king of Kashi, who was with him. So that story, eventually Krishna, Dwarka was spreading rumors against Krishna, saying he was a cheater and an imitator. There was no internet at that time. But still, the rumors were spreading. So ultimately, Krishna liberated Dwarka very nicely. And Kashiraj. Sudakshina, the son of Kashiraj, he offered puja to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva came to Kashiraj and said, what is the benediction you like? He said, I want to fight in battle against Krishna in Dwarka, and I want you to fight with me. He's Ashutosh. So he agreed. He said, I'll be with you with my Pashupat weapon. So they attacked Dwarka. The story's in Srimad Bhagavatam. But eventually, Kashiraj was defeated. Kashi was burnt. And Shiva and Krishna were having a battle together. Shiva sent his most powerful of all weapons, the Pashupat. And Krishna sent Sudarshan Chakra. And the Pashupat weapon was like fire. And Sudarshan was very cold. Srila Prabhupada says that when it's really hot, it's austerity. But when it's really cold, it's misery. So ultimately, The Sudarshan Chakra defeated his weapon and then attacked Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva, just like his expansion of Durvasa Muni, could not escape. He came and fell at the feet of Lord Krishna and surrendered. He said, I'm a Gunavatar. I have so much power. I'm Mahadev. But along with it came ego. And therefore I'm subject to making such a mistake as fighting against you. Now I'm seeking shelter of you. Krishna, he said to Shiva, Vaishnavanam Yatashambhu, he's the greatest of devotees. But Krishna knows exactly what everyone needs. He said to Shiva, there is no one in this entire creation that hates me as much as you. Nothing could be more painful to a devotee's heart as Krishna saying that. That was a more powerful weapon than Sudarshan, those words. He said, you know who I am. Why did you take the side of an enemy who was trying to kill me and destroy my race and destroy all the Yadus and destroy my home? Why you took his side? Lord Shiva, no excuse. He totally humbled himself. He said, it's because I have this false ego. I need your association constantly, and I need the association of your devotees. So Lord Krishna gave him a blessing. Lord Shiva wanted to reside close to the Lord forever. Krishna said, on the Eastern Ocean, near the shore, there is a mountain, Niladri. And there I am eternally resided as Nilachala Chandra, Jagannath. That place is Puri. Krishna was extolling the glories of Jagannath Puri. Such a holy place that when the demigods look down upon Puri, they see every resident, every class and caste of human beings, the cows, the birds, the insects, everyone in Puri is seen by the devatas as having a four-arm form of a resident of Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. If you lay down in Puri, it's equal to offering hundreds and thousands of dandavats to the Supreme Lord. If you take a single step in Puri, it's equal to doing full parikrama of all the holy places. If you speak in Puri, it's like offering Vedic hymns and glorifications of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you sleep in Puri, it's equal to the perfection of yoga samadhi. This is Krishna's words. Now this next part we cannot imitate. He said, if you eat fish in Puri, it's equal to eating havisha, sacred food. This is the glories of Jagannath Puri. It's the eternal spiritual world. Even when there is a pralaya of the inundation of the universal creation, Puri will remain. It is the spiritual world. He said, in that place, I am forever residing as Jagannath. And just north of Puri is a forest called Ekamravan. It's a very holy place. And there you will reside. So Lord Shiva and Lord Jagannath are forever close together. Lord Shiva was praying, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. He's the greatest of the Vaishnavas. He's an expansion of Vishnu. But he's praying that we all have this tendency to fall under the illusion of the ego. The only protection is to always being associating with you and your devotees. And Krishna promised to be there always with him. In fact, Lord Krishna promised Lord Shiva, in every one of my abodes, you will be the Kshetrapala. You will be the protector of my abode. That is why we see in Mayapur Dham, in Vrindavan Dham, in Ayodhya Dham, in Jagannath Puri Dham, the protector is always there in the form of Lord Shiva. Gopeshwar Mahadev. In Vrindavan, Lord Shiva is not only the protector of the Dham, he's the protector of the Ras Leela. One cannot enter into the Rasa Leela without the blessings of Gopeshwar Mahadev. Such a benediction he was given. There's a story after Bhuvaneshwari, Sati. There were two demons. Kriti and Basa. And she crushed them. She trampled on them. And after that, she became very thirsty. So Lord Shiva, by his supernatural mystic power of Mahadev, he got water from the mountains. But that didn't satisfy her. She wanted a nice reservoir. So Lord Shiva, his carrier Nandi, went to every holy place in the universe to collect water. And they filled a reservoir, and it is called Bindu Sarovar. And there are so many benedictions of seeing that body of water, drinking that water, bathing in that water. Spiritual benedictions. And Srila Prabhupada even says it's also very good for the health and especially digestion. So near the banks of Bindu Sarovar, is the deity of Ananta Vasudeva, Krishna. And all the offerings and all the bhoga is offered first to Ananta Vasudeva, and then it's brought to Bhuvaneshwar Shiva. He will only take the remnants of Lord Vishnu. It's Maha Prasad. And Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they extol the glories of the Prasad of Bhuvaneshwar Mahadev. When Lord Chaitanya came, he bathed in Bindu Sarovar. In great ecstasy, he took the darshan of Ananta Vasudeva. And then to reciprocate with the love of his devotee, in inconceivable, insurpassable, incredible love. He cried, he danced, and he chanted for hours and hours and hours in the presence of Bhuvaneshwar. And herein it is described the intimacy of the love between Shiva and Vishnu. And the quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam, as the Ganges is the holiest of rivers, as Shiva is the greatest of the devotees, the Srimad Bhagavatam is Amalam Puranam, the greatest of all Puranas. This is the instruction of Lord Chaitanya by his example. Devotees do not ask Shiva for material benedictions, but they give the greatest and the highest honor to Shiva as the greatest Vaishnava. He's the founder of the Rudra Sampradaya, one of the immortal Vaishnava Sampradayas within this creation. And we pray to Lord Shiva as Lord Chaitanya prayed for pure love for Krishna. Lord Shiva is the very embodiment of compassion. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it tells how he drank an ocean of poison out of his compassion for all beings. Shukadev Goswami tells, there is no service that is more pleasing to Krishna in this world than enduring difficulties, making sacrifices to show compassion for others. And Lord Shiva is the personification of that compassion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to teach us all, he danced, he chanted in ecstatic love for his devotee. And Lord Shiva, who at the time of the devastation of the universe, he dances too. But now the Lord of his life was dancing before him. From Bhuvaneshwar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and eventually to the Bharga Nadi River. It was the Kapoteshwar Mahadev temple that Lord Chaitanya handed Nityananda Prabhu his danda. Lord Chaitanya went to take his bath in the river. And from there they continued traveling. They came to Kamalapur. In Kamalapur, the first sight of the chakra on top of Jagannath's temple was seen. Throughout the whole trip, Lord Chaitanya, as was said many times, was totally absorbed in ecstatic love and separation from Jagannath, in anticipation of seeing and surrendering his life to Lord Jagannath. In Sri Radha's bhava, in the mood of Sri Radharani, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after long separation from Krishna, is coming to meet him. When he saw the chakra on top of the temple, Lord Chaitanya saw Krishna, as Bal Gopal is a beautiful cowherd boy. That's what he saw when he saw the chakra in the dome. He saw Krishna playing his flute, calling him. Lord Chaitanya, every step, he was practically falling unconscious. He was crying. He was in so much eagerness. It's described at 6 miles. But for Lord Chaitanya, it seemed like thousands and thousands of miles. Yugayatam nameshena chakshusha prabrushayatam sunyayatam jagat sarvam govinda virahena. Every moment was like a yuga in separation from Govinda. When they came close to Ataranala, Lord Chaitanya came momentarily to an external state of consciousness and asked Nityananda, Prabhu, give me my danda. But something happened. Near the Kapoteshwar temple, Nityananda was holding the danda of Lord Chaitanya. And he spoke to the danda. He revealed his mind. He said, that person who I hold in my heart is holding you. This is not right. And then Nityananda Prabhu, he broke the danda in 3 pieces and placed the danda in the river. When Lord Chaitanya asked, where is my danda? Nityananda Prabhu said, you were in ecstasy and you were in a very high state of consciousness and you fell on me and we both fell on the danda and the danda broke and I don't know where it is now. Lord Chaitanya knows everything. He said that danda was my only possession. Do not you know that all the devatas live in the danda? Now, either you could walk to Puri in front of me or you could walk behind me, but I want to go alone. From that time, the Bhargi River became known as the Dandabhanga Nadi, the place where the danda is broke. And there are many deep, profound commentaries of the meaning of Nityananda Prabhu breaking the danda of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Lord Chaitanya's heart is not different than Nityananda Prabhu's heart. Nityananda Prabhu always does what is the most pleasing thing to Lord Chaitanya, even when he makes him angry and disobeys him. Because he knows the heart of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya told Nityananda Prabhu, bring me to Vrindavan, and he brought him to Shantipur. Why? Because Nityananda Prabhu understood that Lord Chaitanya's deepest aspiration is to go to Vrindavan. He's been longing to go to Vrindavan for years and years, but there's something more dear to his heart than Vrindavan, his devotees. To give pleasure to the hearts of his devotees is most dear to the Lord. So Nityananda Prabhu brought him to meet with Gadadhar and Srivas and Sachi Devi and all the Vaishnavas. And Lord Chaitanya, to please his devotees, did not go to Vrindavan then, but came to Puri to make his residence. While in Puri one year, Lord Chaitanya ordered Nityananda Prabhu, do not come back to Puri, stay in Bengal. And the next year, Nityananda Prabhu came to Puri. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he glorifies Nityananda Prabhu. Who can possibly comprehend the insurmountable love of Nityananda Prabhu for Lord Chaitanya? He even disobeys his instruction to please him. Lord Chaitanya Swayam Rupa. He's the original form of Krishna. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, the source of all incarnations. And Nityananda Prabhu is Swayam Prakash. He's the self-same Lord Krishna. He's Lord Chaitanya, but manifesting as the servant of Lord Chaitanya. Brajendran dandana je sachishuta hoilo she. Balarama hoilo nitai. Lord Nityananda Prabhu did not like Lord Chaitanya holding an ekadanda, because he took sannyas in the line of Sripad Shankaracharya, because that was favorable for spreading love of Krishna, Krishna Prema at that time. But the Mayavad conception is everything is one. In the highest state of liberation, we all become God. Jagan Mitya, Brahma Satyam. Brahma is the only truth, and this whole universe is an illusion. The Vaishnava philosophy is Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Inconceivable oneness and difference. It is in that theology, in that tattva, that the deepest love can be realized between the Jiva and the Paramatma, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. We are eternally servants of Krishna. A devotee never wants to become God. A devotee wants to love God, to love Krishna, as the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord forever. And it is in this spirit that we celebrate our good fortune by chanting the holy names. So now Lord Nityananda Prabhu made the Ekadanda into a Tridanda. The Vaishnav Danda is we want to surrender our body, minds, words, and life in the loving service of the Lord. And also in the Varnashram system of sannyas, there's Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajak Acharya, and Paramhamsa. And when one comes to the Paramhamsa stage, one is beyond the rules and regulations of carrying a danda. And my Lord Gauranga, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's Swayam Bhagavan, he's Sri Krishna. He's the ultimate goal of all Paramhamsas. Why should he carry danda? Lord Chaitanya understood the heart of Nityananda Prabhu. Mukunda Dat, he said, my Lord, if you will not walk with us, then you go in front and we will come behind. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was rushing, but he wasn't able to rush. His body was getting paralyzed, but still he would keep walking. Oh, Jagannath. And as every step he was coming closer to Jagannath, his feelings of loving, ecstatic reunion with Jagannath was uncontrollably affecting his heart. Tears were pouring from his eyes like the river Ganges and Jamuna. He would roar like 10 million lions, Jagannath. His body was trembling like the waves of the ocean. And finally, he came to the Singhadwaram, to the doorway of Jagannath's temple. He entered. And when he saw from a distance, giving darshan on the altar, Balaram, Subhadra, and Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he cried out very loudly, Jagannath! And at the culmination of weeks and weeks of ever-increasing ecstasies, he ran to embrace Lord Jagannath. And just when he came before the form of the Lord, he fell unconscious. There was no symptoms of life in his body. On that day, by Krishna's arrangement, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was in the temple. He saw this beautiful young sannyasi with a golden form laying on the floor. He saw his ecstatic symptoms as he was running toward Jagannath. The guards of the temple, seeing this Swami is causing a disturbance, they ordered Gauranga, get up. And when he didn't reply, they were about to beat him with sticks. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya stopped them. He could understand. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was experiencing the highest mystical symptoms of ecstatic love. He couldn't detect life in the form of Lord Chaitanya, but he put a little bit of cotton in front of his nose and saw the most fine threads slightly moved. And he had Lord Chaitanya carefully carried to his own home. This is the story in my own very neophyte, unqualified way of sharing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's journey to Jagannath Puri. And we'll continue tomorrow, but today is being celebrated Govardhan Puja. So, may I say something? Nearby to this place is one of the most beloved pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya saw Jagannath Puri as Vrindavan. When he would see Jagannath Ballabha Gardens, he would see the forest of Braj Bhumi. When he would see the ocean, he would see Yamuna. When he would see Jagannath, he would see Shyamsundar, Krishna playing his flute. And one day, Lord Chaitanya with his associates were going to take their bath in the sea. On the way, Mahaprabhu saw a sand dune, a small hill of sand. Mahaprabhu saw Govardhan. Immediately, he ran toward the hill and he offered that beautiful prayer spoken by Srimati Radharani to the gopis from Srimad Bhagavatam, glorifying Giriraj Govardhan as Haridas Varga, the best of all devotees. Srimati Radharani is declaring Govardhan the best of all devotees. The Garga Samhita explains, in the spiritual world of Goloka, Sri Radharani and Krishna and gopis performed their Rasa Lila. And after Sri Radha told Sri Krishna that if you are pleased and happy with our Rasa Lila, then please offer me a benediction. Krishna said, anything you desire. She said, please manifest a place that is supremely pleasurable for our pastimes, and will give you the greatest happiness. Krishna went into a state apparently like meditation. And there, in the innermost core of his heart, the ecstasy of his love for Sri Radha, for all the residents of Vrindavan, it emerged from his heart, glowing with an effulgence like fire in the form of a seed. It touched the ground and began to grow and grow and grow into the mountain of Govardhan. And Sri Radharani and Krishna walked, danced, and performed their leelas forever on that mountain, the king of all mountains, Giriraj. Lord Chaitanya quoted this beautiful verse by Sri Radharani where she is, you are the greatest devotees because you give the maximum pleasure to Krishna's devotees, and that gives the maximum pleasure to Krishna. You provide fresh, delicious, nutritious grass to the cows that's very soft to chew on, very, very flavorful. It gives them good health. They never get sick. And also it gives them milk that is pure nectar to offer to you, Lord Krishna. And the rocks of Govardhan Hill, Giriraj makes them warm in the winter, cool in the summer. And for all the devotees and all the calves and all the cows and all the peacocks, whenever they place their feet on the stones of Govardhan, they're very soft and pleasurable. And the caves of Giriraj, they have jewels that illuminate them. They're always the most perfect, pleasing temperature. And the lakes and the waterfalls of Sri Giriraj are being supplied. They have fragrance like nectar. They taste like nectar. The sound of the water is like nectar. In every way, Giriraj is giving pleasure to the cows, to the calves, to the bulls, offering the most wonderful playgrounds for the cowherd boys and for the gopis. What makes a devotee great? Not any external accomplishments alone. What makes a devotee great is their will to make Krishna happy. And Sri Radharani here is certifying that what gives Krishna the most happiness is giving his devotee the greatest happiness by facilitating their loving devotion to Krishna. This is the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That if we want to displease Krishna, to be envious of Vaishnavas. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, during the journey of Lord Chaitanya to Puri, he gives a beautiful purport. He says that Krishna's name is Gunagrahi. He loves to see the good qualities in his devotees. And he's extremely displeased when we find faults in devotees. To protect people, to correct people, if we have the right motives, we can say things that are sometimes harsh, but there should be no envy. It should be done with compassion. It should be done as a well-wisher. Haridas Varya, the greatest of the devotees, is that person who facilitates, empowers, and gives pleasure to devotees. When Srila Prabhupada said, you should show your love for me by how you cooperate, this is what it means. Devotees try to bring the best in others. Everyone has faults. Everyone makes mistakes. We try to bring out, appreciate, encourage, and empower devotees to be better. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is how he and all of his devotees lived. It was like the thread that is strung through all the pearls of their pastimes. What it means to be a servant. To rejoice to see another devotee succeed. To rejoice to see another devotee being empowered. To lament when we see a devotee suffering or having difficulties, and doing everything we can to help. That is Vaishnav. In fact, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, he who thinks he's a Vaishnav is not a Vaishnav. Vaishnav Das is a Vaishnav. To be the servant of the Vaishnavas is the aspiration of those in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted this beautiful verse, he ran toward Chatak Parvat at the speed of the wind. Govinda, his personal assistant, was running as fast as he can to try to keep up with him. But he fell way, way behind. Soon all the devotees, there was a big uproar. They saw Lord Chaitanya running, and they were all trying to run, but they could not go near him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his great enthusiasm, in the mood of Sri Radha, the Hladini Shakti of Lord Sri Krishna, running to the Haridas Varya, the supreme devotee of Sri Govardhan Hill. Suddenly, he stopped. His body was motionless. There were bumps covering his entire bodies of ecstatic symptom. His hairs were standing on end like the flowers of a kadamba tree. From every pore of his body, perspiration mixed with blood was profusely pouring. And from his eyes, there was limitless tears pouring. His complexion turned white as a conch shell. And he fell onto the sand. The devotees were running. Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, they are very elder disciples of Madhavendra Puri. As fast as they can, they were trying to catch up. And Bhagavan Acharya, who was kind of a lame person, he was struggling like anything to try to get there to where the Lord was. Govinda was the first to arrive. He poured water on the Lord. He fanned him. When Swarup Damodar Goswami and the other devotees came, they loudly chanted Krishna's names in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ear. To see Lord Chaitanya in such a physical condition, even though they knew it was a symptom of the highest prema, still it was unbearable. They were crying and crying, chanting louder and louder. And finally, Lord Chaitanya came to he came to consciousness. He stood up, looked around, and then he said to Swarup Damodar Goswami, "Where am I? Why have you brought me here?" "I was in Vrindavan. I was at Govardhan Hill. I saw Krishna surrounded by his beloved cows. The cows were all grazing on the luscious grasses of Sri Giriraj, and Krishna, in their company, played upon his flute. He called Sri Radharani and gopis to him. Sri Radharani and Shamsundar entered into a cave in Govardhan Hill. And one of the gopis asked me to collect flowers to bring to Radharani for Krishna Seva. And as I was offering this seva of collecting flowers, suddenly I heard this tumultuous sound, and you brought me here." That was Lord Chaitanya's state of love. At that moment, Paramananda Puri arrived. And Brahmananda Bharati and Lord Chaitanya, because they were senior, he came into his external consciousness and offered them respect. And Lord Chaitanya said, "Paramananda Puri, why have you come such a long distance?" Paramananda Puri said, "To see your pastimes." And then they all went into the sea to take their bath and honored Krishna's prasad. Jagannath Prasad together. That place, Chatak Parvat, is none different than Govardhan Hill. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur he made a temple near Radha Kund at Govardhan. And he also made a beautiful temple here in Puri at Govardhan, the Purushottam Gaudiya Math. And on the top of Chatak Parvat, that was the residence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And he considered it one of the most important of the headquarters of his Gaudiya Math. In fact, for over 40 days, he remained there, just toward the end of his pastimes. Srila Prabhupada first met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada in 1922 at Ultadunga, a place that we are having many dreams to make a wonderful offering to Srila Prabhupada and our Gaudiya Sampradaya. That was the first place outside of Mayapur that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada began his preaching. And most of the acharyas of Gaudiya Math, Srila Prabhupada's very exalted, beloved godbrothers, they first met their guru there at Ultadanga. At their first meeting, Srila Prabhupada was given the instruction, you are a young man, very intelligent. You should take the message of Lord Chaitanya to the Western world in the English language. First instruction. It was December 1936. Srila Prabhupada was living in Mumbai, where he had established, along with Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and Bhakti Sharanga Goswami Maharaj, the three of them together established the first Gaudiya Math in Mumbai, near Grant Road, just a few minutes from Radha Gopinath Temple. It was in Mumbai that Srila Prabhupada wrote a letter to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That most of my godbrothers are sannyasis and brahmacharis, and they're living with you and they're spreading our mission. I'm a grihasta. I feel far away. How could I best serve you? And it was there at Govardhan Hill, Chatak Parvat, that the last message of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was written to Prabhupada. You should preach the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world in the English language. And Srila Prabhupada very fondly would remember this and share with all of his disciples. It was the first and final instruction I received. Just days before his disappearance from the world, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left from Chatak Parvat to go to Calcutta. Srila Prabhupada, in his last days in Vrindavan, he also requested that he wanted to do the parikrama of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, they all had bhajan kutirs at Govardhan. It's the very heart of Vrindavan. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Vrindavan, the first time he saw a rock from Govardhan Hill, he embraced that rock and cried in ecstatic love. He circumambulated Govardhan Hill and would not place his lotus feet on the hill. Why? Here in Jagannath Puri at the Gambhira, Lord Chaitanya was visited by a sannyasi named Shankar Ananda Saraswati, who had just come from Vrindavan. He gave to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a gift of a Gunjamala and a Shila of Govardhan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took that Govardhan Shila, and in his ecstatic emotions of love, he would press the Shila to his heart, to his forehead. That Shila was his constant companion and always covered with the tears of his love. Lord Chaitanya presented as a gift that Shila to Raghunath Das Goswami, our Prayojana Acharya, the Acharya who exemplifies through his life and words the highest principles of the gopis' love for Sri Krishna. Eternal loving service to Sri Radha. That was Raghunath Das Goswami's life. He told Raghunath Das Goswami that this Giriraj is Lord Krishna himself. And he provided all the ingredients of worship to Raghunath Das Goswami to worship Giriraj. After Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left from this world, Raghunath Das Goswami made his residence at Govardhan Hill on the banks of Sri Radha Kund, where he worshipped Sri Giriraj. In Srimad Bhagavatam, a very brief summary. When Krishna was about 7 years old, he happened to see Nanda Maharaj making preparations for a large festival and a puja. He asked Nanda Maharaj, "What are you doing, Father? What are all these arrangements?" Nanda Maharaj said, "Every year for generations, our family is doing this Indra Puja. Because Indra's providing rains, and we require these rains because we're an agricultural community." Krishna said, "There's no need to worship Indra, because ultimately everything is coming by our activities. It's the laws of karma. If we do good, we get good. All Indra, the demigods, could do is just supply according to our karma. So we're good people. We don't have to worship Indra. Actually, we should use all this paraphernalia to worship the cows, the Brahmins, in Govardhan Hill. Because the cows are so simple, they're so innocent, they're so gentle. They're providing milk. The bulls are plowing our fields. Krishna's Govinda, he's the lover of cows. He's Gopal, he's protector of cows. His abode is Goloka, the abode of cows. He's Gopinath. He's the Lord of the cowherd girls. And this hill is Govardhan. It's most dear to Krishna because it's providing all the grasses and the waters for the happiness of the cows. And the Brahmins, they are the greatest friends, the representatives of the Supreme to the society by teaching us how to live with devotion. So we should worship the cows, the Brahmins, and Govardhan Hill. Nanda Maharaj said, after we do Indra Puja, we'll do that. Krishna said, no, why waste time? We don't need Indra. So Nanda Maharaj would do anything for Krishna's pleasure. And they performed exactly according to Krishna's instructions. They made mountains and mountains and mountains of food, anakuta. And they offered all that food to Govardhan. And as they offered the food, Krishna, who was standing with the Brijabasis, assumed a form of a mountain, a person as enormous as a mountain with Govardhan. And there Krishna proclaimed, I am Govardhan Hill, and I will accept your offerings. And suddenly he ate everything. And then with a mountainous voice, he cried out, Anayor, give me more. But there was nothing else. They offered everything. Mountains of rotis and chawal and sabjis and kuns and pans and sarovars of condensed milk and kira. And Krishna actually spoke what he wanted made. And then one of the Brijabasis offered a tulsi leaf, and Krishna and Govardhan proclaimed, now I am satisfied. And then by his incredible will, gigantic arms were coming out and taking all the bhoga, and they could see him actually honoring it, eating it. And then in a moment, it all came back where it was. And the Brijabasis and Krishna's instructions with the cows in front, they did parikrama. The first parikrama of Sri Giriraj Govardhan was on this day of Govardhan Puja. Then they fed everyone sumptuously the prasad. Everyone was happy, except Indra. Krishna knew that Indra had this false ego. It's very difficult for a devotee to have a high position and not think I'm the controller and be attached. What to speak of little people like us in this earth planet? Even in the heavenly worlds. We read in Brihad Bhagavatamrita and other Vedic literatures, when Indra does puja. Vishnu personally comes with Garuda and right in front of everybody's eyes accepts all of their offerings. So many Vedas are offering prayers to Indra. He's a very, very great person. But still, that tendency to be a controller, a proprietor, and an enjoyer. Bhoktaram jagatapasam sarvalokamaheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richchati. To be really peaceful, we must understand Krishna is the controller of everything. He's the proprietor of everything. He's the enjoyer of everything. I'm the servant of his servants. So Krishna detected that false pride, that attachment in Indra, and he was going to do a very precision surgical practice to remove it. And sometimes surgery is painful, even when Krishna does it. So Indra, all the other devatas are seeing. You're expecting this every year, and now it's being offered to cows in a hill. Indra was furious. He sent the clouds of destructions to destroy the whole community of Brajbhumi. Suddenly, these massive clouds formed in the sky, thunder, lightning. It wasn't just raining drops. It was raining pillars of water pouring down. We can't even imagine the sound of that thunder and the crisscrossing fear of that lightning striking. The Brajavasis came before Krishna along with some cows. He said, Krishna, we did this for you. Indra's really mad. Please save us. Krishna smiled. And he walked to Govardhan Hill and lifted Sri Giriraj with his left hand, held it up with his smallest finger, and invited all the Brajavasis to come. He said, look, Giriraj was so happy with our puja that he's now assumed the form of an umbrella to protect us from the rains of Indra. All the Brajavasis with the cows and the calves and the goats and the buffaloes and the peacocks and the birds, everyone came under Govardhan Hill. And for 7 days and 7 nights, nobody even went to sleep. They were all gazing upon this most beautiful threefold bending form of Krishna, holding up the Govardhan Hill, Giridhari. During those 7 days, all the different rasas with the various devotees were being exchanged simultaneously, constantly. Krishna's Rasaraj, Rasa Vihari. To the gopas, each one of them could feel Krishna just looking at them, joking with them, smiling, laughing. Yashoda Mai, Nanda Maharaj, and their Vatsalya Bhav were constantly worrying about Krishna. If Krishna moved the mountain a little, they would all put sticks under it, thinking Krishna can't hold us alone. And Yashoda Maya was constantly almost crying in anxiety of motherly love. Govardhan Hill is so heavy, and it's such a big mountain, and Krishna's finger is so soft, and his arm must be aching. He's holding it for so long. Madhu Mangal, Krishna's friend, told Yashoda Mai that, why are you thinking like that? Because of my Brahman Tejas, my Brahman powers, Govardhan Hill is being held up. Krishna's just standing like this. And Yashoda Mai was chastised Madhu Mangal. How can you say like this? My son, he's hungry, his belly looks like it's caving in, his arm looks like it's trembling, he's holding this gigantic mountain and you're making jokes. And Nanda Maharaj said to Yashoda Mai, he's trying to encourage Krishna. And then Krishna smiled. He said, actually, mother, there's no pain at all. Actually, Giriraj is so merciful and he's so kind that because we offered all this puja to him, that he's floating on my finger. There's no weight at all. And Yashoda Mai said, if that's true, then let me see Giriraj float above your finger. Otherwise, I cannot believe it. And then Yashoda Mai, with all of her heart and such a feeling of desperation, she's praying to Govardhan that please, if I've done anything pious in my life, if I've done any service that's pleasing to the Lord, then please be very soft and light on my Gopal's hand. The Sakya Bhav of the Gopas, the Vatsalya Bhav of the elder Gopas and Gopis, and the Madhurya Bhav of Sri Radha and Gopis. For them, this was the ultimate festival of their hearts. 24 hours a day, day and night, they're with Krishna. They're glancing at Krishna. Krishna's glancing upon them. And Krishna's power, he can satisfy every desire of a devotee simply by a moment's glance. Through his glance, he was entering into their hearts and fully embracing them and reciprocating love with them. And they were doing, and Krishna was reciprocating the love that every gopi was feeling toward him through his glance within his hearts. And every cow, every calf, every bull, every peacock, every insect was feeling the full love and reciprocation of Krishna according to their will to serve him. For 7 days. And Giriraj, even though there was massive thunderbolts falling upon him, torrents of rain pouring upon him, because of the experience of feeling the tip of Krishna's little finger was so ecstatic, Param Dristvani Vartate. It was such a higher experience, he didn't even notice what Indra was doing on top of the hill. In fact, the more the rain was falling on Govardhan, it was like an abhishek. He was getting brighter and brighter and brighter, and every moment happier and happier. Because Giriraj, he was providing a beautiful place for Krishna to reciprocate the rasas with all of his devotees. And that was his happiness. He didn't care about everything else that Indra was doing. Indra was becoming more and more angry. He was sending hurricanes, tornadoes, cyclones, typhoons. He couldn't move Giriraj from Krishna's finger. Krishna humiliated Indra to such an extent because in the whole 7 days, Indra could not remove a single blade of grass from Govardhan Hill. He could not remove a single leaf of the hundreds of millions of trees on Govardhan Hill. He could create absolutely no disturbance. The clouds, they were exhausted. They told Indra, "We give up. We can't do anything else." So Indra was even more mad, and riding on Airavata, his elephant carrier, with every bit of force he had, he tried to move the hill. But he couldn't create any disturbance. And then he realized, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadhyara Govinda Sarava Karana Karanam. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. He's the cause of all causes. He's my master. What craziness. I tried to destroy him and all of his devotees and his cows. Indra left. The sun came out. Krishna told all the Brijavasis, now you could go back to your homes. They didn't want to go. But it was Krishna's desire. So they all left. But after leaving, the cows came running back because it was just so beautiful to have the darshan of Giridhari. And Krishna, with his glance, he herded them back to the Goshalas. He put the hill down. He held it like a little child holding a mushroom. And then he placed it down from where it was. Indra was feeling very shamed and guilty. He tried to destroy not only Krishna, but all those who Krishna loves. What to do? He went to Brihaspati, the guru of the Devatas. Brihaspati said, you're a fool, Indra. You're just a fool. There's nothing I can do for you. You tried to destroy Krishna. You tried to destroy Vrindavan, Krishna's home. So Indra went to Brahma. Brahma said, Indra, you're a fool. There's nothing I can do for you. But if you go to someone who Krishna loves, and that person appeals to Krishna to forgive you, then Krishna will forgive you. Krishna loves the cows. Go to Surabhi, the mother of the cows. Lord Indra, Lord Indra, the king of the heavens. Such opulence, such power, such knowledge, worshipped by the other devatas. He comes before a simple mother cow and begs for her mercy. Surabhi says, come with me. And Krishna was walking around the Govardhan area. in a place that is now called Surabhi Kund, is where Surabhi approached Krishna and said, Indra, he did very bad things, but he's feeling very guilty now. Please forgive him. He wants to take shelter of you. Surabhi's prayer had the power over Krishna's heart that he forgave Indra. Then Indra performed a wonderful abhishek with the other devatas and declared Krishna to be the true Indra. And that place is called Govinda Kund. This is a wonderful story. And I'm going to end soon. When I asked Sanat Kumar Prabhu, who's overseeing this entire yatra, I asked him, what time should I end? He whispered in my ear, you could go as long as you like. So I was about to end then, but I became very fearful of displeasing Sanat Kumar by disobeying his instruction. He's very small in size, but he's very spiritually powerful personality. Kaliya was such an envious serpent. He killed all the cowherd boys and the calves. Krishna glanced and brought them back to life. Then Krishna dove in his waters. Kaliya bit Krishna in the chest, and with all his powers, he tried to kill Krishna. He tried to squeeze him to death, tried to bite him with his poisons. And ultimately, Krishna lovingly, blissfully danced on the hoods of Kaliya. And when Kaliya was on the verge of death, with poison and vomit and blood coming out of his mouth, the Nagapatnis, his wives, they were simple ladies. But they were the most powerful because they had love for Krishna. They prayed to Krishna to forgive Kaliya. Look, he's taking shelter now. Krishna not only forgave Kaliya, Krishna gave Kaliya an eternal service. Sometimes when Garuda is busy, Krishna will ride Kaliya. Jagai and Madhai. They were such demoniac people. But when Nityananda Prabhu, the original guru, prayed for their mercy, Lord Chaitanya gave them prema bhakti. And here Surabhi, the simple cow, by the power of her prayers, Indra was forgiven and restored and empowered. This is the principle of being the servant of the servant of the servant. I often cite Prabhupada when he was asked, what was our qualifications for all these gifts to come to Jagannath Puri, to have the connection to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the whole Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Parampara, to have so many opportunities for service. What was our qualification to receive all these gifts? Srila Prabhupada said, I made your qualifications with all humility. This is the science of bhakti. That unless great souls intervene in our life and pray to Krishna to forgive us, to empower us, to awaken our divine love, then we have no access to Krishna. This is simply how Krishna has arranged it, that his mercy flows through his devotees. This is a beautiful lesson we could meditate upon here in Sri Jagannath Puri Dham on Govardhan Puja Day. How many offerings were there today? Does anyone know? This is the way the brahmacharis explain. $2,000 plus. And so all of you in the back, we made those nice little stoves with all the smoke coming in your eyes. You prepared over 2,000 offerings to Shri Giriraj. I thank you. I congratulate you. And I thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Swami ki jai, Ananti Krishna